Have you ever helped someone again and again and still felt invisible? Have you ever said yes while something inside you whispered no? Most people believe that being kind will protect them, that if they give enough love, enough time, enough effort, the world will return it fairly. But what if that belief is incomplete? What if the very thing you think keeps you safe is quietly draining your strength? There is a difficult truth many kind people discover too late. Being good does not automatically create respect. When you say yes to everything, people start expecting it. When you are always available, your time feels less valuable. When you give without limits, you slowly run out of energy and still feel unappreciated. At first you feel proud, needed, important. Then you feel tired. Then you feel confused. Why am I exhausted? Why do I feel unseen? Kindness is powerful, but kindness without boundaries can slowly turn into self-neglect. And that is where the real problem begins. Let me tell you about a man named Thomas. Thomas was known as the kindest person in his village. If someone needed help, he showed up. If someone needed money, he found a way. If someone needed someone to listen, he gave his time freely. People often said Thomas is such a good man, always ready, always generous. And Thomas believed that his kindness made him feel valuable. He thought if he kept giving, he would always be appreciated. But slowly, something inside him began to change. He would spend his days fixing roofs, carrying heavy wood, helping neighbors from morning until sunset. Then he would return home, exhausted only to hear another request waiting for him the next day. There was rarely a thank you, rarely an offer to help him in return, just more expectations. One friend borrowed money more than once and promised to repay it, but never did. When Thomas gently asked about it, the friend became distant as if Thomas had done something wrong. That moment stayed with him. At village meetings, people would volunteer him before asking his opinion. Thomas will do it, they would say. He is always willing, and he would sit there quietly, feeling both proud and strangely invisible. Every night he felt more tired, not only in his body but in his heart. And for the first time, he began to wonder, if everyone loves my kindness, why do I feel so alone? One evening after another long day, Thomas sat alone by the river. He looked calm on the outside, but inside he felt empty. That was when an older traveler who had been passing through the village sat beside him. The traveler studied his face and said, "You look like someone who gives everything but receives very little." Thomas was surprised because no one had ever described his feelings so clearly. They talked quietly as the sun went down. Thomas admitted he was tired. He admitted he felt used even though he cared deeply about people. The traveler listened and then said something simple but powerful. Being kind does not mean saying yes to everyone. Not every request deserves your energy. Not every person values your sacrifice. Thomas frowned. He had always believed helping others was the right thing. The traveler nodded. It is right, but wisdom must guide kindness. If you are always available, people stop respecting your time. If you never say no, people forget that. Your yes has value. Those words stayed with Thomas. Kindness without boundaries is not strength. It slowly becomes self-neglect. And maybe you recognize this feeling in your own life. If you do, comment number 1 below. Let me know you understand. Because awareness is the first step toward change. The next morning, Thomas faced a moment that would change everything. There was a knock on his door, another request, another expectation. He felt the familiar pressure in his chest, the automatic urge to agree. But this time he paused. He remembered the words by the river. Not every request deserves your yes. When his neighbor asked for help again, Thomas took a slow breath and said something he had never said before. "No, I cannot today. I need to rest." The room felt silent. His heart was beating fast. His hands were slightly shaking, but he did not change his answer. Later that week, the friend who often borrowed money came back with the same promise. Thomas listened carefully and replied calmly, "I cannot lend you more until the previous loan is repaid." There was surprise, even disappointment, but Thomas stayed steady. He was not angry. He was not harsh. He was simply clear. At the next village meeting, he spoke with quiet confidence. "I will continue to help," he said, "but not alone, and not without mutual respect." Some people were confused, some were quiet, but something important had shifted. For the first time, Thomas felt lighter. He had not stopped being kind, he had started being intentional, and that small difference began to change everything. At first, the village felt different. There was distance, there was uncertainty. Some people were not used to hearing Thomas say no, but something unexpected began to happen. When he was no longer always available, his time felt more valuable. When he agreed to help, it felt intentional, not automatic. People started asking instead of assuming. They began offering support in return. Sometimes it was payment. Sometimes it was labor. Sometimes it was simple gratitude. The neighbor who once expected endless favors now spoke with respect. The friend who borrowed money stopped asking carelessly. And when a young farmer approached Thomas for help, he did something no one had done before. He said, "I will work. With you I will give back what you give." For the first time in years, Thomas did not feel drained after helping. He felt balanced. He felt seen. He realized he had not lost his kindness. He had refined it. Weeks passed and the change became clear. The way others treated him reflected the way he treated himself. When he valued his time, others valued it too. When he protected his energy, others respected it. Thomas understood something simple but powerful. Being good does not mean being weak. It means being wise. Kindness, guided by clarity, does not push people away. It teaches them how to treat you. Months later, the traveler returned to the village. He found Thomas by the same river, but this time there was something different in his posture. He looked calm, grounded, steady. "You look lighter," the traveler said. Thomas smiled. "I feel lighter. I used to believe that being good meant giving everything to everyone. Now I understand that real goodness requires awareness. It requires choice." He had not become cold. He had not become distant. He still helped. He still cared. But he no longer ignored his own limits. He listened to his body. He listened to his time. He listened to the quiet voice inside that once felt guilty for saying no. And something powerful happened. The more he respected himself, the more others respected him. The more clearly he communicated his boundaries, the healthier his relationships became. If you are someone who always says yes, remember this. Your kindness is valuable, but it is not meant to cost you your peace. You do not have to prove your goodness by exhausting yourself. You do not have to accept every request to be a caring in a person. Real kindness is steady, not self-sacrificing. It gives with intention. It protects your energy. It chooses wisely. Being kind is beautiful, but being strategically kind is strength. So what is the lesson in all of this? Thomas did not lose his kindness. He did not become selfish. He simply learned that goodness without boundaries leads to exhaustion, while goodness with wisdom creates balance. Maybe you see yourself in his story. Maybe you are the one who always shows up, always gives, always understands. But deep down you feel tired and unappreciated. If that is you, take a moment and ask yourself, where do I need clearer boundaries? Where do I need to respect my own limits? Saying no does not erase your kindness. It protects it. Setting boundaries does not push the right people away. It teaches them how to value you. The people who truly respect you will adjust. They will meet you halfway. They will appreciate what you offer. Remember this, you are not responsible for solving every problem. You are responsible for protecting your peace. If this message resonated with you, comment, "I choose wise kindness" below. Let this be the moment you decide to honor your time, your energy, and your worth.